Now, hundreds of thousands are gathering to take part in what's set to be the UK's biggest political demonstration for a decade. Mass protests are planned across the British capital to oppose the government's £80 billion spending cuts. The austerity measures are part of a Treasury initiative to eliminate the country's huge budget deficit in just 4 years. Let's cross live now to RT correspondent Laura Emmett, who's live for us in London. Hello to you, Laura. We're hearing from one UK newspaper reports of up to 300,000 demonstrators turning up throughout the day. How are things developing in London? What's the turnout looking like at this point?
Well, I can well believe that. We are here at the point where the march is gathering, and you can see these people gathering behind me, demonstrators from all over the country who've been bussed in, trained in to come and join this protest. The people behind me are filling up a 4-lane road, which is usually full of traffic at this time of day. And it's not just these people behind me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. All the way down to my right, literally as far as the eye can see, there are banners and flags and people gathered waiting for the word to start marching to Hyde Park, and people arriving from the other direction all the time. Now, when I was on my way here this morning, everybody on the Underground seemed to be on their way to the demonstration. It was more like a weekday rush hour than a Saturday morning. They were coming for a variety of different reasons, and the people that I've met down on the road this morning have also said that. There were pensioners, they're protesting against potential changes to the pension system. I've also seen several young families who are against the cutting of provisions for young children, and of course here to protect the future education of their children. I've also seen police. There'll be 4,500 police in control of this demonstration today, but there are also police taking part in the march, demonstrating themselves against cuts to the police service. And of course there is the Stop the War Coalition, CND, a big anti-war presence here. And to talk more about that, I'm joined by John Rees from the Stop the War Coalition. Mr. Rees, thank you very much for talking to us today. Now tell me, what's your part that you're playing here today?
Well, I think a very big part of the problem that the British government has with its deficit is its continual addiction to war. If we were to scrap the Trident nuclear weapons renewal, if we were to stop the wars in Afghanistan and the attack on Libya, we would have a very, very large proportion of the British government's deficit dealt with at a single blow. And I think that many people, although, as you say, they've come for a variety of reasons, I think whatever's brought them here, many of them will also sympathise with that point of view.
And of course this march has been planned for a while. Since December the TUC have been talking about having it, but recently a whole new dimension has been added in the shape of this military intervention in Libya. What's your take on that?
Well, we were told that in the very first night of the attack on Libya, over 100 cruise missiles were fired. Those cruise missiles are $100 million worth of resources blown up with every single weapon. Now, that doesn't take a large amount of imagination for people here to calculate how many places at universities that would mean, how many libraries that would mean, how many hospitals that would mean. So I think it's very, very graphically brought home to people here. Quite apart from the disastrous policy, the loss of life, which of course is uppermost in their mind, what the financial cost of this is.
But of course some would say that it would be a sad day when Britain wouldn't intervene to aid the rise of democracy in the world.
That would be a sad day, but it's not this day, because I think the intervention in Libya is not meant to assist democracy. It's meant to give the Western powers a foothold in the very fast-moving Arab revolutions. They backed the dictators for decade after decade, and now that those dictators are being removed, Western foreign policy is in a mess, and they want to get back in this game, and that's what the intervention in Libya is about.
And now that Britain's involved, and some would say leading the charge into Libya, what are you calling on them to do?
Stop it now. We don't want Western intervention in the Arab revolutions. The revolutions have proved one thing beyond any reasonable doubt, and that is that the Arab people are more than capable of dealing with the dictators in their own manner. And I think that this has to be our view. Of course, we want solidarity from ordinary people, from organisations like Stop the War and CND and other civil society bodies. We don't want to leave them to fight on their own. But our government and the arms manufacturers that they represent and the oil companies that do the deals, they don't really have the same interest in assisting the people of the Arab world.
Realistically, what difference do you think this is going to make? I mean, ahead of the intervention in Iraq, the invasion of Iraq, we saw a huge march here in London, which appeared to make no difference whatsoever.
Well, I think the government has been weakened by 10 years where consistently the mass of people in this country have been opposed to the war. The majority were opposed to the Afghan war, are still opposed to the Afghan war, were opposed to the Iraq war, and opinion polls show that they're opposed to this. And I think you can see by the nervousness with which the government's approached this, by how careful they've been to try and construct a coalition which is now falling apart, that they are vulnerable. And that's the work of 10 years, and I think that it will make a difference today and in the future to the amount of intervention, the number of wars that the British government can be involved in.
OK, John Rees, Stop the War Coalition, thank you very much. Now, I'll be here all day following this march. Shortly, these people are going to start marching down to Hyde Park, where they're going to have a rally that's going to last for most of the afternoon. I'll be down there with them to see what kind of a difference they think they're going to make to government policy, both on the cuts and on the military intervention in Libya.
All right, RT's Laura Emmer, they're keeping us up to date on the demonstrations in London. Thank you.